Good morning. This is Ron Anderson, bonsai with Dirtylocust Garden Center. And today we're going to be showing you how to take a nursery pot plant, or a plant, we call it a black pot of death. Take it out of that and put it into a growing pot. And so we hope you find this to be, or we believe it will be, the most comprehensive video you've ever seen. The first thing I'm going to do on this tree is actually clean it out. It would be a disservice to this tree just to repot it with all this pollen, and I think there's some mulberry trees that dropped on it, some berries. And I'm also going to clean the bottoms. This is not a tutorial on Japanese black pine, but I'm going to clean the bottoms so I can see what's going on with this tree when I repot it and what branches we'll be able to wire in the future. All right, stand by. Okay, so while I'm cleaning the bottoms of these branches on this Japanese black pine, let's do a little talking. So everything that I'm about ready to tell you is based on what we do here at Dirtylocust Garden Center. We're in the Sacramento area, and we get extreme heat, but not that extreme cold. We do have some major swings. So anyway, when you're doing anything, we usually repot here in California, Sacramento. We usually repot in January, February, March, maybe April, and you're really pushing it if you go as far as May. As long as you do more like a slip pot, you'll be fine. Okay? Okay, before we start, as you can see, I've already cleaned the bottoms. I just wanted to do that before we repotted. Cleaned most of the bottoms, got rid of a lot of dead needles. Cleaned it out to get more light to the interior. All right, let's talk. So this video that I'm about ready to do, as I mentioned earlier, we hope it will be the most comprehensive video that you will ever see. We hope that you share it with your friends. We hope that you share it with your club. It'll be a great how-to step one all the way to, well, depending on how many steps we cover, anywhere from 25 to 35 steps. And with that, I'm going to get started. So one of the things that we teach here at Dirtylocust Garden Center is the first thing that you should do is take a picture of every single one of your trees. Your future self will thank you. So I'm going to take a picture here. And I'm going to get 4 different sides of this tree. It'll be amazing when you see what this tree looks like in 6 to 10 years, and you will wish you'd taken a before picture. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this tree, pre-bonsai tree, out of a nursery growing pot. And this same process will be every single tree that you get from a nursery growing pot. So the first tool that we're going to use is a sickle. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're just going to pull towards us, spin our table, and keep working our way down. Till I get down far enough where I think I've loosened it from the pot. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my tub on the ground here. Since I'm right-handed, I'm going to tilt this like this, and then I'm going to tap. And then I'm going to turn. I'm going to tap it. I'm going to turn it and tap it. Okay, so that'll be the next process. And then my goal is to reach up here as high as possible to try not to touch any of this bark. The value of a black pine is this beautiful bark. Okay, so now we've taken this out of here and we're going to stand it up. Okay, so now that we've got it out of the pot, the next process that we're going to do is we're going to just lightly spray this. I don't know if it's lightly or heavy depending on where you're at. I think sometimes we soak them a little bit. We don't want it to dry out while we're working on it. Okay, so that's the next step. Spray your tree. Okay, so the next step is to find our nabari. I have to be honest, on this tree, I actually cleaned it out about 3 months ago. And so I found the nabari on a lot of these trees. Your goal is to actually, with your bent tweezers, okay, is to find the part of the nabari that looks like it's hugging the earth with the largest front that you can find. And each one of your trees that you get is going to be a little bit different. And see, what I'm doing is I'm spinning and I'm raking out, not down. I'm looking for a nabari spread. So that's your next step. So the next step that we're going to do is I'm going to serrate the edges about 1 inch all the way around. Why am I doing this? I'm using a larger red scissors that I only use for roots. The reason we do this is the longer these trees are growing in black pots of death or training pots, nursery pots, the longer they become entangled, and it's almost like a basket weave around the outside. So as you put these trees, especially like azaleas or anything else, when you put these trees, if you don't do this and you put them in a bonsai pot, right, then 4 years later you take it out and it's spin its whole time. Instead of growing roots out, it hit those weaves and continued to just spin in a circle. Okay, so the next process is to lay this tree sideways and then measure where our pot needs to be. Okay, can you see that? I'm going to take my sickle and I'm going to mark that. And then this, I'm going to leave that. That's a great blooper. This, using our sickle, we come back through here. You see how that just cut right through there? Now we know that we didn't take off too much or too little. Of the roots. Okay, so the next process is to lay our tree sideways. We just used that saw to rake off the bottom. So I'm just going to lightly do this. Some trees you're going to take off a lot more. This one we're just going to lightly do it. And then the next tool, of course, what I'm doing is, so I raked from top to bottom, and I'm cutting this. All trees should be able to stand up on their own. Just going to cut now with sharper scissors so that from my fibrous roots they have a chance to grow. So during this whole process, I've continually just kept it a little bit moist. I want it to dry out. And sometimes, depending on the tree, I'll take it out right about now and I will lightly hose it not bare root. This isn't all about bare root, and it's just about getting some water to the interior, because a lot of these are dry on the insides. So here at Dirtylocust Garden Center, we do something a little bit different. I would say 95% of all trees we put into a plastic growing pot for 2 to 3 years. We get them established in a plastic growing pot, and then after that, we transfer them to an unglazed or a glazed pot, depending on what species it is, for its continued journey. But we start them in plastic pots because it gets 110 to 115, and this allows the roots to take a little bit more abuse than if you put it directly into a glazed pot, or unglazed. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some mesh in these holes. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure, just need to go a little bit over, maybe 2 or 3 holes on each side. And then I'm going to cut this the entire length so I can use about the same size for both sides or any other pots that I use. Okay, and then I'm going to use the number 2 wire to make a staple to put it in. There's the number 2 wire. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Just putting some staples in here, and then I'll put this, using your pliers, and I'll put this in here. Okay, so now you can see I've finished putting those in the bottom. That'll stop the drainage from coming out. This is what it looks like on the bottom. Okay, so the next process now is to put wire into our bonsai pot. You cannot go wrong with measuring 3/4 the way around a bonsai pot. Okay, cascade pot's going to be a little bit different. There's going to be some variations and changes depending on the pot. But most of the time, if you just go 3/4 of the way around, you'll be fine. So I'm going to cut 2 wires. I need one for here and here. So the next step that we teach is to get a towel. Why? Well, we want to put our pot down. And if this was a $200 to $300 pot, and you turn this upside down, then as you were doing anything, you could scratch this beautiful glazed or unglazed pot that cost you a lot of money. So then the next thing that we do is I get my 2 wires and I pre-bend. Okay, so I pre-bend both my wires. Makes it easier to put them in, and then put them in. So then I'm about ready to turn that upside down, or right side up. Okay, so the next step is to turn that pot right side up. And bend your wires down. And then what you're going to do is you're preparing your pot for drainage. You could use almost any drainage. We use large portions of the sifted pumice that we have. And we sift out different layers for different sizes, and we use that in our premium bonsai mix. You could use red lava, you could use rainbow lava, you could use, the big thing, rocks are going to be a little bit too heavy, but any type of larger medium should be okay, as long as you wash it, and that's going to be our next step.